Okay, so I'm recording a demo on how we're going to complete the next project. There is some assumed knowledge that I assume you have when we start this. I assume you have a basic understanding of how to use the pin tool in Illustrator, how to use the text on path tool. You understand how to download images from the World Wide Web. You understand how to download an image from the World Wide Web, put it into Photoshop, remove a background from it, save it as a GIF so the removed part will be transparent, and then bring that into Illustrator. I assume you know how to do basic searches. I assume you understand the 5-step creative process and the file naming protocols of this class. Alright, we're starting a new project. It's a fairly big one. It comes after the expression unit. In the expression unit, you first conveyed a specific emotion to the audience, allowing you some control and effect over the psychological impact of your visual pieces to the audience. The second thing that you did in the the expression unit, was followed a theme. So you got every element and most of the principles to line up with a central idea. We're now going to put that together in a commercial graphics project. One of the first things that I like to do when I'm starting a project is write down or type my objective. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to read it. I typed it earlier. The students will demonstrate their mastery of utilizing central ideas and audience awareness by creating packaging for a student-created product. The students will utilize Illustrator for all text and may create the entire project in Illustrator. Though utilizing both programs, Illustrator and Photoshop, is very common for this project. As with all other projects, it's assumed that we're using public domain images, that we're following the 5-step process, and that we're following the naming protocol. Once I've kind of typed that, and you guys can answer this one, what's the first thing that we do in any project? That's right, research. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to start researching. And so I might type in something like product packaging. And I get several interesting products. It's kind of interesting with the face, the little teeth there. So again, I got to open it, get to the view image, then I can drag that across. It's kind of interesting also because it looks like it was all created in some sort of 3D renderer, possibly Illustrator, and then maybe this other photo came in from Photoshop. So then I go back. Notice I have a folder over here entitled Research, where I'm putting my research images in. As you know, you're supposed to have 50. I'm probably not going to get all 50. I'm up to 10 so far. So I'll go through and I'll find. So now I think these boxes are interesting just because of the way they're shaped. I'm not sure how well it works with the idea of Kleenex, because watermelon doesn't make me think Kleenex. So I go through and I find some interesting packaging. Maybe I like this kind of Day of the Dead milk carton thing. So I'll go ahead and pull that over. And hopefully as I'm looking through this, I get some ideas. So I keep scrolling along. I try to get closer to my 50. And by the time I'm done with my 50 research images, hopefully I've gotten some ideas. This looks like it's pretty interesting. Also, when I first typed in the search of product packaging, up at the top, they gave me some words they thought might make sense to add, like creative and cool. You know, I like to think I'm creative, so I'm going to go into creative and take a look at what some of these things are. Blood energy potion is kind of interesting, but that just looks kind of dark to me. It's like a shaving brush, maybe. So there's some the image is really low, so I can't see it all. So I'm going to go ahead and pass on that one. That's kind of interesting. This little packaging for these cookies. You know, and obviously I'm also looking at things that the theme relates to the object, and it won't be too hard for someone at my skill level to do. I don't know, that's kind of interesting. I'm guessing this is some sort of scarf or some wearable thing. Seems to be all guys, which I guess makes sense because girls don't have beards. So I worked through my packaging. Now when I first started thinking about this earlier, I was thinking a lot about cereal. So I might even just type in some cereal. Let's type in the word cereal, go to images, and I notice I'm not really getting much packaging at this point. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit box. And I'm going to look at some of these boxes. And one of the things I notice is they all seem to have these kind of mascots and things. I wonder a little bit about that. I don't know, but so I open one up. And also notice, when I look at this image, which is an absolute typical image, the article is called The Psychology of the Cereal Box. At this point, I may want to go to that page and take a look at what it is that they're saying about cereal boxes. And I can read it and I may find out some interesting, why is it that we need colorful mascots? Part of the reason I might be asking this of myself is because when I'm thinking about doing a cereal box, I notice, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and grab that image, drop it over there. I notice that all of these cereal boxes seem to require really colorful mascots. Looks like a lot of work to illustrator that up. So I'm going to look for boxes that maybe, see now this one, now I don't know if I'd want to do Chucky. Maybe I could find another doll though. This one is interesting. This, if I can get to it. It really doesn't want to let me over there, does it?
No.
Huh. All right. I'll look for something else. So we've got to stick with public domain stuff. But if you notice, this box seems to just have some sort of piratey captain guy. They changed the hat a little bit, but maybe if I change the name and put a different pirate in, I could get something like that. So I'll go ahead and grab that. Keep looking around a little bit. Unlucky Charms, that's kind of interesting. I'll go ahead and grab that. And if you look at it, I don't know, there's still a lot of Illustrator work in there. But I might be able to find something that would work like that. And as I was searching earlier, I also found found this picture. And this picture is great. I don't need anything but a flag. We can find flags all over the place. So looking for something that will be simple and reasonable for my capacity. This Lopopolo, that looks along the lines of something that I could do in a couple of weeks. So I keep pulling those until I get my 50 images. Right now I'm up to almost 20. I'm going to go ahead and get that up to 50. And then one of the things I like to do, well, after research, what's the next step? Thumbnails, that's right. Except for when we're doing this project, thumbnails are a little different. Because before you can start thumbnails, you really need a central idea. So one of the things I did when I was getting up this morning was I tried to think of some product names. And I was thinking cereal. So I came up with Mighty O's, Morning Flakes, Bowl of Coffee, Morning Pops, Honey Crunch, Loops of Color, Mariflakes. Now, I kind of like this bowl of coffee idea. So that's the one that I worked on in my earlier morning demo. And like I said, I just sat and brainstormed some products, a central idea. I was already onto the cereal idea, and then I came up with some names for the cereal. Picked one I liked. Then I went into Illustrator. And the first thing I did was I got a rectangle and I drew a little rectangle. I needed that to be white on the inside. Now normally when we do thumbnails, we draw them, we put 15 on a page and they're really small. But for a product, you need a little more precision and you kind of need a front and a back at least. So I'm going to copy that and paste it a couple times so I can get some fronts and some backs. So I chose to put 6 on a page. Now, I grab my type on path tool. Actually, let's make a path. So I make a little kind of arch there. Grab my type on path tool. On that arch that I just made, I'm going to actually get rid of both the stroke and the fill. So I just need a path. I don't need a big color. Grab my type on path, select it. I'm already set to center. Maybe make my font size a little bigger. I'm going to type. I actually kind of like the idea of bowl O coffee better than bowl of coffee. It's like in this font I can make it a little bigger, but as I start to play with some of my fonts I might find out that it won't fit a whole lot bigger. So there I got a nice curve there. I'm going to grab my brush. Maybe one of my ideas is that I'm going to have a really big kind of bowl-shaped mug. A little spoon kind of sticking in there. Some coffee inside. Some steam coming out. Then we'll go with the traditional kind of breakfast cereal thing. There'll be a placemat, a little glass of orange juice, a little carton of milk, okay, that's certainly enough for me to get the idea to myself on my thumbnail. Maybe I'll have another one. I'll put some coffee beans kind of spilling out. From the edge into a smaller cup. In this one, I'll go the other direction, and I'll have, instead of seeing it from the view of the person eating it, I'll have the person with a big smile, with their spoon, about ready to dig in. The arm coming down. Some hair on there. And again, these are thumbnails. I don't have to be super precise. Maybe I'll put it on a round table because that'll reflect the round in the coffee mug. On this one, I'll put good. Take that down to a smaller font size. Just copy and paste that little arced one. And obviously I'm going to go on until I have about 15 fronts. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to look for some backs. Here, just in the interest of time. I'm going to grab one of these backs I worked on earlier. Whoa. So this one I had some text and a guy out farming some coffee beans. So I look at these and I'm like, okay, at this point I can make a list of the items I need. If I decide I'm going to go ahead with these two pieces right here, I'd be like, okay, I need a bowl of black stuff. I need a milk carton, a glass of orange juice, a coffee farmer. So then, once I make that list, and I actually will probably make it a little more formally. And this time I didn't need spilling beans, but I needed a bowl of coffee. I needed a glass of OJ. I needed a milk carton. So I'm going to then go back onto the web. I'm going to type in public domain coffee. Go to images. So now that's at tripadvisor.com, which means that image, even though it's kind of an interesting thing with the little leaves, is not very good. Now this cup of coffee and a field of coffee beans, it's a little different than what I was originally headed for, but it's at public domain pictures.net. It's a little small, 615 by 410, but it's not bad. I'm going to get my images file, the file that I make for stuff that's actually going into the piece. And I'm going to go ahead and view that image and drag that on in there. Yep, lots of pictures of these decorative coffee cups, but they all seem to be from places that aren't so that aren't public domain, that are someone else's image. Now this isn't bad, except for that cup. I have to really think about whether or not that cup is the kind of surface I want. I mean, I kind of think that something more modern would be better for my coffee cup that's in my piece, my bowl of coffee. And you know, I wonder, what if I said something like, because I'm getting a lot of baristas in coffee shops, what if I just said coffee bean? Still got some baristas. But look, not only is there a nice cup of coffee here with some beans on it, but it's at a public domain site. I'm starting to get things more like what I want. Still get some of those ones from TripAdvisor. Coffee beans, I hadn't thought as much about it, but some of these images are nice. So as I start to find some pictures that I think I might be able to use on this thing, I go ahead and grab them and put them in my images. If I just think I might be able to use them, I'm going to put them in research. But if I know I can use them, I can go ahead and put them in images. I also know I needed a picture of a coffee farmer. Now this looks kind of like, see, and this is at commons.wikimedia. I know that site, I trust it. So that's a good consideration maybe for what goes in the back of the box. See, this guy's at Commons as well. It's a big picture, 2700 by 4000. And I've got several other pictures. I mean, this one looks... but this is at yflies.org, so I'm guessing this may not be a public domain image. So I'm going to go back to this one from Wikimedia. I know Wikimedia Commons is a public domain site. You're not supposed to post there unless it's public domain. So at this point I'm gathering my images. The next thing I want to do is I want to come over and I want to do a search for cereal box templates. And I'm going to go to images. Now I noticed, like, this is a pretty good image, but it's only 800 by 595. So if I open up my search tools and go to size and say large, now I got this one that's 3000 by 2000 essentially. So I'm going to go ahead, view that image, and drag that over as an image I'm going to use. I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to go back to my Adobe Illustrator, make a new file. Letters OK. Now I want to I need to get that cereal box template . I thought this had opened it, but apparently it didn't. I can come over here, grab that, and Command C for copy it, go back to Illustrator and see if I can just paste it. That did not work. Alright, so File, Open, cereal box template, and there I have it. So I zoom out a bit. I'm going to take my template, free transform it, down to size, zoom back in. Now look at this for a minute, and here's the front of the box, the back of the box. This is the tops. We're really only going to see half of those because they're going to be folded under. Actually, this one looks like one will be seen, but the other one really won't, except for a little bit of it. I can even put a little guide, say this is about as much as I'm going to see of that, and then the whole thing of the other. And these are the sides where nutritional facts go. And then at that point, I can actually start Well, I can start to open some of these other files. Into Illustrator, I can grab it, copy it, go back to my serial blocks, paste it. As you can see, it's a very big image, which is nice, kind of good high quality. I can bring it down, put it to the back, try to get pretty close to the size that I had on my little thumbnail. I'll worry about the words later. So at this point, we have researched product repackaging, some product packaging. We have picked a central idea or theme. We've then looked into that a little bit, drawn some thumbnails. From our thumbnails, we decided what we were going to put on our template. We found a box template, and we're starting to build it. Those would be the extra parts, the parts you haven't done before in this project. Now, one thing that I want to do with the camera before I end the demo is I'm going to walk it over to look at some of these other projects that have been done in the past. And then once that's done, we can get back to questions. So like I said, I've done this project before. Here is a project that was done by a student a couple years back. Some assorted gummies. You can tell a lot of the extra work that was done to create not only the letters with the little teeth in the C's and the highlights, but even the eyes. You can figure out how many layers, how many shapes an Illustrator had to be stacked to get those eyes right. These assorted gummy chewies have some information on the side or some sales, tell you where they think they'd be good for. She put a little game on the back, which is a typical marketing ploy, where once you've bought 2 or 3 of them, you're only one shy of getting the last final toy, and so the kid wants to use it. And then she went in and made her own nutritional facts label and her ingredients on the side. This was another student, fairly advanced. There's some strengths and weaknesses to this piece. You'll notice that they worked very hard to try to get the theme, the colors, the textures to all represent their central idea, which was this men's cologne called Water. They put some sales pitch on the side. They did ingredients. They did some bilingual aspects. And a lot of boxes of cologne, they don't really have a whole lot of pictures on them. So they built up this texture and this look on the back, which goes throughout the whole thing, but on the back that's all you can see, as well as on the side. And with this, it's mostly done in Illustrator except for the one bottle of cologne that they pulled in Photoshop and modified. This project was a lot of fun. This was a project about edible watercolor paints for kids. So the person combined some Photoshop pictures of some fruit, which had then been posterized and had smiley faces drawn on them, with some very artsy splashes. Lots of language that would be good for kids, like this yummy package includes banana, sweet strawberry, tangy kiwi. Even put a warning, disclaimers are nice to add. The brush is not to be consumed. Calling all kid painters, join the gang. Kind of, if you buy this, you'll be a part of something bigger. And again, nutritional facts added to the side. This last student took a darker approach with the zombie brains, now made with real meat. Took some images and posterized them and did some modifications to make them fall in that zombie realm. Found a site that allowed you to make your own nutritional facts, which allowed them to like make the calories 666 and some other things like that that they thought was a very cute thing to do. Came up with a disclaimer: may contain the necromortis virus. If any signs or thoughts of cannibalism happen, go to the doctor or shoot yourself in the head. I'm not sure the shoot yourself in the head part was all that wise, but the necromortis thing was kind of cute. Put an impossible maze on the back, much like most zombie things. It's kind of impossible to get out. And then he added new flavors on the side, which is kind of hearkening to the Lucky Charms, where they list all the different charms you can get. So here's a couple projects that have been done, or pieces that have been done for this assignment. And that's the basics of how we start this process.